Hmm.
So I want to talk about songwriting. I'm a huge fan of the songwriter, always have been, and I have so many questions about your music over time because you've been doing this a long time. We're not going to talk about your age, but you've been doing this a long time, and there is always an evolution process to creativity. Um, but I would love to hear about your writing process. Is it something that you can schedule? Like, I'm going to write Wednesday. Or is it more organic than that? It just kind of hits you. Or is it kind of a combination of both of those things?
So I have scheduled writing sessions with friends, and that works out because we usually bounce energy off of each other and ideas. That works. But most of the time for me, I get my ideas from doing everyday housework.
Hmm.
Honestly, like
Mundane
if I'm,
tasks.
yes, if
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gardening, if I am doing dishes a lot of the time, if I'm driving on long drives, that's why I love driving. I love traveling because I get a lot of my ideas on the road. I used to have piles of napkins, pizza boxes, just anything I could find to write on when I had an idea. And now I have an
Memo.
iPhone. So
Yeah, the phone. Yep.
make notes. And I feel really like bougie and rich when I do that, by the way. Coming from the country, writing on napkins
Mm.
and everything, I'm like, I feel successful. You know,
Yep.
I just get my
Siri,
iPhone, like,
write this down. You have to kind of put your head. You have to do your head like
it's,
this
yeah,
too, right?
it's like I have a secretary, you know, and I'm like, make note for me. Here's my idea.
Yep.
That's what I feel like.
That's that's amazing. So we did talk about the fact that again, you were one of the, if not the only, independent female at the time that was really touring the state musically. So for me, I'm gonna say this. I know you would never say this because you're super humble, but I feel like you are one of the biggest trailblazers for women in the state of Texas. For God, over a generation now. So I have two questions here that I want to talk about for this subject. Number one, how important is it to you that you are a role model for so many up and coming Texas females? And how difficult was it for you to kind of break into a male dominated um, industry, I guess is the word?
Well, I do get a lot of women who will um, come up and chat with me about how I've influenced their careers or their life in music. And I spent a lot of time taking them with me so they could get that experience on the road, and then they can decide whether or not this is for them. That's the most important part, is going through all of that and deciding if that's really what they want, because it's not for the faint of heart. It's
Not at
not an
all.
easy life. uh, and I didn't do so well in my marriages in picking someone who would support. So I had to go out and work twice as hard. And now I'm a single mom of two teenagers. So the pressure is on. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's the hardest part. So it's like, are you willing to do this? Are you willing to sacrifice?
Mm-hmm.
Your lifestyle and everything that you, I mean, it's just a big sacrifice. It's hard work. Are you willing to work that hard? So it's really important to me that I portray also someone who's classy. I Ever since I was, starting out in the band, I believed that you could be sexy without being slutty, without
Mm-hmm.
showing cleavage, or
Right.
you can, there's a fine line. So every picture that I put out, I did it with the intent that one day I would have children, and maybe girls, which I ended up having two girls, that if they saw those pictures, they go, yeah, that's my mom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they would be proud of that. They wouldn't be like, oh, you should take that down and hide that picture, or, oh, that's my mom. I want them to see and go, that's my mom. I'm really proud of her. And that's how they are.
So you were thinking of
They,
that before the kids came. You were thinking about that,
yeah, because my mom's morals and integrity.
right?
So I guess it wasn't all bad.
There you go. See, we got to give mom credit where she deserves it, right?
That's right. I'll give her some credit on that one. I've kept it classy all these years.
Yeah.
But that was really important to me. Portraying who I really am, that's really important I mean, against all odds, because there were years in my career where country music was not cool.
No.
And I just rolled with it. I was like, well, this is who I am. I can't pretend that I'm rock and roll. I can't pretend that I'm pop. I can't pretend that I'm a teenager anymore and that I just lost my boyfriend and I'm sad, you know.
You know,
Now,
it's
what I
fun. It's
can't,
funny you say that because you do have some rock and pop elements in your music over the years, for sure. I mean,
that's from my brothers.
yeah.
That's
I
from
mean,
my
it's
older brothers.
there. It's there, and it's part of what makes you so cool as an artist, in my opinion. Like I've heard the Latino influences. I can hear the classic rock and the pop influences, and there's so many others. '90s country comes through a lot with you. Marty Robbins,
Yeah.
like stuff like that. Like you've been so all over the place with your different records. And I'm excited to talk about your
Yeah.
newest record that's hopefully coming out soon too, because that's completely different
Yeah.
than everything else. So you say it's not about rock and not about pop, but it's there. It is there in
Oh,
the
it's there.
undertones.
It's
Yeah.
there. I just meant I can't stay in one wheelhouse
Right.
of being a teenage pop singer.
Hmm.
It's not who I am.
Well, that's
Now,
the creative process anyway, right? Just churning out the
right.
same thing over and over again. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And I got tired, honestly. I'm gonna be real honest with you because if you play shuffles every night, every weekend, let's say for years and years, you're like, oh, please, I just need another beat in my life. I need something else to influence and make my night fun. This is fun for you. I'm glad you enjoyed the country dance, but I've got to rock it out a little bit here. I've got to
Hmm.
do something upbeat that is different. And that's where I started reaching for things that I grew up with from my childhood. So my older brothers all listened to rock and roll. And it was, oh my goodness, anything from Ted Nugent to Led Zeppelin to the Allman Brothers to the Doobie Brothers. And then my sisters were listening to, 80s and 90s country. And so all that stuff influenced my life. And then of course my grandparents speaking Spanish and listening to Tejano and all kinds of stuff like that on their records and then playing it. It's like, I really like that song. I remember this song. I should write something like that. And so that's where it all kind of came into the mix. And I thought, well, I'm independent. I can do whatever I want.
That's right.
I don't I don't have to stick to one thing. I don't have to do what everybody tells me to do. I can take opinions and say thank you very much and then do what I want to do.
Hmm.
And that's what I did. And there were times where I get really low because I was going through a lot in my marriage. And this is where I tell a joke because when I say my marriage or my ex husband, you're supposed to go, which
Which
one?
one? That's right.
I, I have audiences all over the place now that will just yell it out when I say my ex husband. They go, which one? And then they take a drink. It's a fun drinking game.